Hi there. Welcome to Sky Notes. In this episode, we wrap up our discussion on your Venus sign and love languages. This is part two. If you hadn't noticed, we really liked talking about this. We hope you love what we unwrapped in all three of these videos. So enjoy part two. How about we do it this way then? We've got 20 so minutes left. What if we look at the Venus sign
Yeah.
and then touch on each of the five out, right?
I like it.
So if we're talking about Venus and Aries, then what do words of affirmation for Venus and Aries look like? Maybe it's a verbal sparring.
I was thinking that too. Not malicious, just in
Mm-mm.
that way to get them up.
Mhm.
Knowing that once an Aries is in motion, they'll be able to keep going.
Right. Maybe they wanna run a marathon on their birthday, and
Maybe
you're
there's
gonna be there
something. Yeah.
cheering them on. Acts of service for a Venus and Aries. Well, that's gonna be helping them launch, doing something that helps them catapult.
Having dinner, ready when they get home. I mean, it doesn't have to be physical like that, but that thing of planning because the Aries doesn't necessarily focus on that
Ooh, I
when they're
like
in the moment.
Yes, maybe it's being the facilitation underneath the thing that the Venus and Aries
To
is
help
trying
plug
to
them back in.
and taking stuff off their plate that they don't have the patience to do.
And not being offended that they're not built for that.
100%.
Yeah.
Receiving gifts, well, that to me, gifts are built by the entire chart,
Yes.
you know? So if we're going to talk about gifts from an Aries perspective, something that helps them be Aries. So help something that facilitates independence, some things that facilitates adventure,
I like
daring.
that.
So
Yeah.
maybe a gift from an Aries perspective is bungee jumping,
Or
right?
travel, like travel of any kind, and it can be adventure travel, but it could also just be something they've been stuck on that they wanna get to.
Yeah, maybe it's just throwing them in a car for a road trip they didn't plan for,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Aries loves to be
yeah.
surprised. Mhm. Quality time. Well, this is one of those cases where quality time might be alone.
It might be.
Yes, definitely.
So that's cool because then it's more the love language would be the partner makes sure they get what they need before that Aries goes, and then as soon as that Aries goes, they're off the hook for real, and
Yep.
not
No
secret
conditions. They just get to
no
go do the
subtext,
thing.
no
Yeah, that's
subtext.
right. That's right. That's right. And then physical touch, well, that's gonna just
So
depend
just
for
do
sure.
that, physical touch, go running, take a
Yeah.
shower.
And maybe the physical touch here, like time is, don't touch me.
Right, or I need a massage. Is
Hmm.
there something for my muscles?
Well, acupuncture is a very Aries. So it could be some kind of a body treatment that involves Mars. I think we did pretty good with Aries. Hey,
Yeah, let's move
it's
on.
it's kind of interesting how like we're gonna have trouble with certain signs in certain place. Like it's gonna be a bit more.
It's interesting.
So Taurus, words of
Well,
affirmation for Taurus.
oh, I like that.
How do you think that works?
Boy, first of all, Taurus and words, right? I mean, there are some who argue that it's preverbal Taurus,
Hmm.
not about the kind of sounds we make that are complex, more
Hmm.
about music, more about vibes. So that might be it. I might
Hmm.
have a nice thought if they come to mind. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Or
Right.
make sure that I'm gonna be positive towards them when they come in.
Hmm.
And I suppose I'm thinking about the Mercury in Taurus, but my feeling is there's like I was describing Scorpio as kind of sucking, right? I feel like Taurus is kind of resisting that sucking a little bit. Like, you know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah. It
It
kinda
would
has to
really,
sitting on the other side of Scorpio. It kinda has
right?
to. Yeah.
Right. Get
Hmm.
off of me. What are you doing?
Yeah. Words of affirmation for a Venus in Taurus would likely be anything that contributes to the sensuality. So maybe it's more like
Ooh,
singing, or maybe it's
a
more like
poem.
yeah, but a poem that is very physical in the way
Mm.
that it's either done or in the way it feels. You
Like
know, there's an
Pearl right?
embodiment. Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
kind of an embodiment there for
Um,
sure. I would think that words alone likely, and I mean, of course, there's exceptions. There's a whole chart, and I know that my Venus and Taurus person in my life has a ton of Gemini going on, and
yeah.
so words are definitely appreciated.
With Gemini and with Mercury, there's that love that is sapio sapient or something, or philo sapient, loving someone for how their brain works.
Yeah, and he and I do. We both have Mercury ruling our seventh houses, so we're both Mercury ruled suns. Yeah, so, so definitely the mind had to be connected, or this was never going to happen.
Right. No, I get it.
Absolutely. And that's the truth. Like we talked about this before, that with the sun and Venus and Mercury can never really get that far from the sun. And so when
Mhm.
we're talking about Venus, the Mercury and sun are going to play in just based on proximity, right?
Right.
And the fact that somebody could very easily have the same Mercury and Venus sign and sun sign, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so then it becomes more streamlined in that case. So
Right. You can feel a great deal of I find that with folks who have that Pluto conjunct Saturn, that
mm.
generation.
Be with Saturn and Pluto. So where I'll tell you where I went in
Thank
terms of
you.
connecting the two ideas was that, if you have a lot of Taurus energy, that can also feel like a wrecking ball that's not moving,
Ooh, yeah.
you know?
Oh,
Um,
immovable object, right?
yeah, yeah,
Unstoppable force,
yeah. And
immovable object.
if it does move though,
Yeah,
right? And so when you try to connect that energy to words of affirmation, all
it's
of a sudden you're like,
interesting.
oh, okay, this is not going to be what you expect. There's going to need to be a little bit of thinking around that for sure.
And keep it simple kind of thing. A
100%. Yes.
flower,
Less
right?
is more.
Yeah.
hmm With
And
Taurus, less is more.
simple also, less subtext is better than not. Because I find for Aries and for Taurus, it's like they're not living in that mental world where
Yeah.
it's like so cool to go through all of the different things. They're living in the physical world. Thank you very goodly. Please do not pollute it with some crazy ideas. So, like, do what you say and say what you do.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But from a
Well,
different place than, say, Capricorn, which is you do what you say, you say what you do.
yeah. When we get to Capricorn, we'll talk about accountability,
That's
which
right.
is what I heard and what you just said.
That's a big one. Yeah.
And so acts of service. Well, I mean, if you want the easy peasy answer to Venus and Taurus and acts of service, just cook them food. Just
Yes.
find
That's
out what their
perfect.
favorite yummy thing is, and feed them, or make them something that if they're smell Tauruses, because some are
Oh, I
very
love that.
scent
I love
oriented.
that. Yes.
Something that smells, make them something, help them.
I was thinking fabrics that are luscious and soft,
Mhm,
right?
mm,
Like, bring
mhm,
them a nice throw
mm.
blanket or,
Yeah,
make sure they're warm or something like that.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I
And
like
from the acts of service perspective, maybe, help them clear their schedule so they can go do something luxurious,
perfect,
right?
perfect. Yeah,
Or yeah, and it can, if they're a real practical Taurus, it might be helping them do food prep.
oh, I love
If
that.
we're on that really practical end of the spectrum with a
Yeah,
Taurus. Yeah. Gifts, again, were something sensual, right? Something that
yes,
feels good, smells good, tastes
yes,
good, smell good,
yes.
right? That one's a little bit easier and going to be very personal from person to person. Quality time is likely going to be something you're enjoying sensually together.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be sexy, just sensual.
doesn't have to be a lot of talking. I know I keep going on and on about it, but something where the connection is palpable, right?
Yeah, it's a sensual experience,
Yeah,
right? So that can be as simple as just doing a something at a spa that smells good and feels good and the music is playing and you're silent. There's no talking. You're just
yeah,
in it, right?
I love that.
Yeah. And then physical touch, well, I don't know a lot of Venus and Tauruses who don't enjoy a massage.
Right.
They're probably out there, but I've yet to actually meet one. And there are preferences, but physical touch, anything that's going to bring in some smelly oils, and it can just be a hand massage, a foot massage.
I also think this is the perfect Venus for, um, I've been stuck in bed for a few hours because his head's on my elbow and I want him to keep sleeping, or
Yes,
vice
yes,
versa. It's
yeah.
that lazy,
And quality time or acts of service
yeah,
can be something that facilitates that they get to sleep in,
I love
that
that.
they can stay in bed all
I
day.
love
These are
that.
all also very Venus and Taurus
Yeah,
indulgences that they
yeah,
really enjoy. So there's,
yeah,
yeah, I do love a Venus and
yeah.
Taurus, quite literally.
Mhm,
Do you have any final thoughts for Venus and Taurus, or are we gonna
mhm.
move into
No,
Gemini?
that's great. Yeah, let's talk Gemini.
Well, words of affirmation.
We're just
I would
keep going, lots
I
of
would
them.
solidly put that, Venus in Gemini would fit into the words of affirmation
Yeah.
category pretty easily. Again,
Yeah.
there's gonna be
I think they
exceptions,
like
but
to be acknowledged for their, ability to capture stuff. I'm talking more generally, but there's a joke about the Venus and Gemini being, easily bored, right?
yeah.
And so, maybe I'm thinking about flattery rather than words of affirmation, but I think they're vulnerable to flattery, I suppose.
Well, I always say that Venus in Gemini is the flirtiest
Yes.
of the Venuses.
They're good at banter.
They
Yeah,
are, and depending on the rest of the chart, if there's a good intuition there, they can charm. If they're good got a strong empathy, and if they've got some good intuition, that Venus and Gemini can charm the pants
absolutely,
literally off.
absolutely.
Yeah, there's a real flirtation skill there for sure.
Yeah.
What about acts of service for a Venus and Gemini? What would we do for a Venus and Gemini for acts of service?
So I usually, for Gemini, they're one of the signs that I associate with like different cultures, a lot of different cultures, or flexibility with different cultures. And
Mhm.
so, from folks who go on missions to build houses for people in other countries, to maybe going and seeing musicians who are bringing culture from
Mm,
another place, or a soup kitchen where just a really wide variety of people come in. It's interesting, right? Because
mm,
you want to think about like what will be the antithesis of being boring, right?
mm, mhm,
And
mhm.
then go as far afield as possible.
Right.
And then they'll get as much of that difference as they need to find out what will truly satisfy them, or that would be the intention.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a Venus and Gemini, if you're gifting them anything, or doing something for them, setting them up to be able to just have a story to tell,
Nice.
right? So, giving them an experience that gives them a great story,
Yeah.
to me is kind of the quintessential Venus
That's
and Gemini
awesome.
gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everything that you're talking about kind of fits into that, right?
Yeah.
Gemini often appreciates comedy. It's
Yes.
going to be very individual from Gemini to
Right.
Gemini. So again, taking them acts of service, setting up a situation where they get to laugh, they
Yeah.
and have a story to tell, right?
Yeah.
That's a way that you can do acts of service
So,
for a Gemini.
in
Maybe do their
joke.
writing for them or make their lists or
I like that.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Gifts. Gemini energy loves little things,
Yes.
um, that are interesting.
So, like, lunch at a tapas restaurant.
Right, because of the little dishes. Yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Or, gadgets. Oh my
Nice.
god, Gemini energy loves
Nice.
gadgets. Yes.
Yeah.
Either gadgets that help them do something or gadgets that are just interesting that they've never seen before,
Right.
right? Gemini energy likes to be tickled, like, it likes to have its
Yeah.
brain tickled. right?
Yeah.
So anything that does that is going to
Yeah.
be something that a Venus and Gemini appreciates
Yeah.
too. Um, so quality time with a Venus and Gemini, depending on the rest of the chart, is going to be letting them talk.
Or short.
Yes, and many, right? A Venus
Many.
and Gemini would likely like to have a breakfast date, a
Yes.
morning coffee date, a lunch date, an
Yes.
afternoon dessert date, a
Yes.
dinner date, and
Yes.
then drinks. Like
Yes.
that to me is the perfect Venus and
Yes.
Gemini
I
birthday.
get that.
And with different people the whole day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then with somebody to maybe blow off steam at the end of the night because
Yeah.
you talk to so many people.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. They probably would end that night if it wasn't in a social situation,
Mhm.
calling their favorite person to
There
tell
you
them
go.
how the day went.
Yeah, you won't believe this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Venus and Gemini to
I
me.
love that.
Yes. Quality. So that was the quality time. And then physical touch for Venus and Gemini.
Hands.
That one of the keywords. So this is another way that you can do this is you can just the keywords for each sign can be helpful. So with Gemini, it's curious.
Yes.
So anything that sparks their curiosity out of any of these categories is going to be
And I would even
wonderful.
argue a friendliness to being curious, because that's a whole nother thing that we're struggling with right now. When you're curious, you haven't already ascertained the answer. And kind of anywhere you look, I'll speak up for myself. I want my answers to be my answers. And so there's not a lot of like room to be curious, right? If you already know the outcome. And so I find myself in my personal life really just going, what can I set up so that, like, instead of writing down my to-do list, I write down at the top ideas, because that doesn't obligate me. These are just like things I'm thinking of because I'm also thinking about this and I'm trying to coordinate it. And it lets me off the hook just enough to kind of try to see, be curious.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
things that stimulate curiosity and
Yeah.
a capacity to be open to curiosity, not overwhelmed by it, not put down by it, but just like, oh, I like it when I get curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And I would say that for Taurus, it's sensuality, sensual, something
Yes.
sensual, you know? And for Aries, I don't know, I'm stuck between adventure or um, go, anything
Right.
that allows them to go, right?
Spontaneity.
Yeah, yeah, surprise,
Yeah.
surprise. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think and being open to doing those things with them.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So then we're into Cancer. Now, I have to
Oh,
admit this is a sign that I don't know a lot about from my own personal chart. I
right.
I don't have any planets in Cancer.
Hmm.
Um, and whenever I think Cancer, in terms of like when I get sort of energetically feeling Cancer, um, anything that lets them feel safe,
Yes.
lets them feel nurtured and cared for would be sort of the theme around Cancer, that if you hold that, no matter what you do, you're going to be feeding their Venus in Cancer. What do you think?
I love that, and I do think it's true, but what I have found from the Venus in Cancers, and I think about this a lot with Cancer in particular, the need to nourish is really strong. So they're gonna want you to maybe let them cook breakfast.
I just in my head just went, "Oh, you might have to let them cook for you." Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But hey, that Taurus would be perfectly happy,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But it's sort of like to let them see it, and because the journey of Cancer, I mean, I have a moon in Cancer, and when I first started out understanding astrology, I loved taking the positive aspects of it and, gluing them to myself, but all of the other aspects were there too.
Yeah.
And I had to keep learning, and I still have to keep learning how to honor that Cancer by sticking to the higher qualities of it. So I find that with the Venus in Cancer is that the words of affirmation are you're going to get there, or you're so caring. You know what I mean? Even when it's a clunky, like, I'm kind of hurt, but I want to give you something. And now you can't tell if I'm fighting you or loving you.
Well, and the other thing to always remember with Cancer, no matter what placement it is, doesn't matter, Cancer, it is being ruled by the moon
That's
and
right.
it's changing
Changeable,
regularly.
changeable,
So
and
check
that's not
in.
someone's fault.
No, it's just the reality of it. We are who we are and we are given what we're given.
That's
And
it.
so when you are if Venus and Cancer is who you're working with or
Yes.
gifting to,
Mhm.
where are they at right now? Because it might be
Right.
different tomorrow.
So
And
smart.
where are they at? What's important to them now? What
Yeah.
would nurture them now? And are they in a phase of needing to be nurtured or are
Right.
they in a phase of needing to nurture?
Yes.
Right. And so I mean, really, if you have that Cancer energy to be able to navigate somebody else is super helpful. If you don't, it's a learning curve to
Right.
understand that type of changeability.
Right, which oddly, I think makes pairing with earth and air signs in the Venus category more ideal because they don't need to get involved in all of that. And so there's this separation that could be enough for that Venus and Cancer to process their stuff.
Yes.
And their partner will hear about it and will get all of that. But if it's in an Aquarius or Libra or Gemini, it might be like, eh,
Yeah, so if the transiting moon is in an air sign, they might wanna go out with friends on that birthday,
so
right? If
interesting.
it's in fire,
Yeah,
they might wanna do something creative, right?
yeah.
If it's
I
in
love
water, they
that.
might wanna stay home in bed, and if
I
it's
love that.
in earth, they might wanna just eat their faces off
That's
in
right.
bed. So,
Yeah,
it's like it's gonna depend, but probably the biggest gift you could give them is finding out what it is.
I
And
love.
then doing that. It's a piece that I think people forget when they're
Yeah,
delineating Cancer stuff, right? Because
yeah.
we try to put things into pretty clean boxes, and when
Mhm.
anytime the moon is in charge of the thing, the moon moves so fast, right? There's no choice but to be changing with it, so Cancer energy is
Absolutely.
always gonna be up and down with whatever the moon's doing. And
Yeah,
then whoever the moon's talking to, and, it
right.
goes on and on and on. So there is a certain I used to think Cancer energy was frustrating as a Virgo who's trying to get everything perfect.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with somebody that it changes all the time, they talk about sextiles being an easy aspect. Well, Cancer and Virgo are sextile, and that is not an easy combination either way sometimes.
Ah,
So, I mean, I feel like we can't even break any of these down because it's really going to be different from time to time.
oh, unbelievably, which is why the relationship stuff is so fascinating, right? It's
Yeah.
you have 20 different triggers, it's you're trying to explain a really complex set of reactions or potential reactions, and you really can't just make it small. It
Right.
it won't make any sense.
Right. I had a fun conversation with a family member and her partner. We for the first time, looked at their sun moon combinations. And that when I was doing hair, that was my very funnest thing I love doing with people. And even like skeptics were a bit freaked out at what you could tell them about themselves based
Right.
on those two things. And this beautiful human I'm talking about is a Cancer sun and an Aries moon.
Mm.
And I giggled because they live a very adventurous life. And the partner is a Virgo with a Sag moon. And so I said to the Cancer with the Aries moon, I said, "Oh, you can't decide if you want to be in bed under a blanket or jumping through puddles." And her wife like couldn't talk because she was laughing so hard. And it's like she's like, you encapsulated her in a sentence, you
That's
know?
marvelous.
Yeah,
That's
and I just thought
marvelous.
it's so neat because she can embody both of those things because the
Exactly.
Cancer being changeable allows that, you know?
Exactly.
But as a partner to that, you're navigating on that spectrum,
Which is
right?
why I love the idea of some of this is about a lens that allows you to see through, and then things make more sense, and some of
Yes,
it's opaque, and
yes.
then some of it's time.
Yeah, and it's also like I was thinking about this week because I'm creating some tools to help people learn astrology and learn to kind of delineate it from a more simple point of view. And most of my understanding, not my learning, but my understanding of the signs is in really nailing down what's underneath them. So what
Right.
mode are they? Are they fixed, cardinal, or mutable? What
Right.
element are they, right? And understanding those underneath the signs gives you
Mhm.
such more richer
Right.
understanding of sign.
Mhm.
And so, so if we're having Venus in any of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, I'm missing one, Libra,
Libra.
they're going to want some kind of action.
Right. Or to start something.
Yeah, for sure. So when we get to the fixed signs like Taurus, we're about to go into Leo and Scorpio and Aquarius. Although Aquarius doesn't like to identify as fixed,
Mhm.
they're going to want something pretty similar,
Yeah.
birthday to birthday, or Christmas to
I
Christmas,
like that.
or
I like
and
that.
their love language is going to be a bit more prescribed as a
I like
fixed
that.
sign. Whereas
Yeah.
the cardinal and the mutable signs are gonna
Let's
be a
see
little
what
bit tougher
happens.
to nail down, right? So that's also something to keep in mind. Let's talk about Venus and Leo.
Mhm.
Um, Again, looking at the sun sign is gonna help inform this for sure because the sun rules Leo. But definitely words of affirmation because Venus in Leo loves to feel special. That's
Mm.
anything in Leo loves to feel special,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
to understand the devotion, there's a need for commitment and devotion with Venus and
Right.
Leo. So anything that speaks to that, whether
Mhm.
it's words of affirmation or acts of service or any of these, that's going to feed that Venus and Leo for sure. Um, I think that sometimes people assume that the Leo energy wants big glamour, but that's going to really depend on where that sun sign is. Because, and not only that, but is it the sun below the horizon or is it above the horizon? Does it want a big display for the whole world to see above the horizon, or is it something more intimate at the bottom? Right. So these kinds of things are going to be
That's
what
so
will
interesting.
affect that fixed energy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's less about show and
Mhm.
dazzle than it
Mhm.
is about special and making the person with a Venus and Leo feel like they stand out in some way in people's lives, something that allows them to feel special.
Right.
Instead of that fancy, expensive gift, something that facilitates whatever they're doing in their life to help
Yes.
them be seen, feel special,
Yes.
creative projects,
Yeah.
anything that's in that fire realm, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be expensive or glamorous or anything
Right.
like that. But if it helps that Leo energy do what it's trying to do,
Mhm.
that's special. That's
That's
something that Venus
beautiful.
and
That's
Leo
really
will love,
beautiful.
right? And
Yeah.
quality time, well, doing something creative with them or,
Yeah.
allowing them to do the thing that makes them feel special
Yes.
without making them feel guilty because, you want their time, whatever. I'm gonna say that the Venus and Leo can have a little bit of that Aries, like, time.
And when we describe Leo as royalty, the converse, the opposition of Aquarius is kind of a utopia, right? It's a crowd, right? Utopia is many. And then a kingdom, there's one person, and you're not going to find them wandering the streets. They're going to be in their castle. So it's about having your own terrain, right? Your own kingdom, queendom. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's funny that my wonderful brother married a beautiful Leo woman with a Venus in Leo whose birthday is 6 days before mine, and our families choose to celebrate our birthdays together.
Oh,
And we've never
whoa.
we've never said it out loud. Now I'm saying it on YouTube. I think we both hate it. It's good that we love each other.
Yeah.
We adore each other.
I think you're really hitting on something. It is singular from that perspective,
Yeah.
one at a
But
time.
and I'm always my Virgo sun is always in awe of because she doesn't present like a Leo.
Mhm.
She really doesn't, even though she has Leo rising and sun, like she's Leo. It's below the horizon, so it's
Yes.
really subtle.
Yeah.
Um, but she has done such a great job of making sure she has something special that happens for her.
Right.
That sun
Right.
in the first house is able to really do
I
that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And physical touch, well, that's gonna be up to the Venus and Leo.
Consent is
100%,
required.
1,000%.
Start with consent,
That's right.
never assume. Yeah.
And then, well, so now we get Venus in Virgo, and to
Yeah.
me, the Venus in Virgo is quintessential acts of service, and
Yes.
especially in the giving side of things.
Yes.
And I think sometimes what can happen with the Venus in Virgo is that it doesn't know how to communicate what that looks like the other way,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right. Well,
And
and also I feel like the Venus in Virgo, and I like to think about it as activating the inrush of data that Virgo brings that is not already summarized, highlighting the best of what's available. It is just a big dump of information. That's difficult. And so there's this need to get to the good stuff or reflect the good stuff back. There's the physical, it's an earth sign. So they do know how to attract beautiful things. And yeah, it would be something about making it clear that just because it's in process doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Nothing to fix or improve.
I wonder, because Venus in Virgo is gonna have a Leo sun, a Virgo sun. It could have a Cancer, it can have an early Libra as well.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's that sun sign is gonna make a difference, because a
Yeah.
Venus in Virgo with a sun in Libra,
Mhm.
um, would likely want to go shopping by themselves. They would likely wanna go treat themselves with nobody interrupting them, giving or putting their opinions on them, that they would get to just do that on their own.
Right.
And also there's a practicality to Venus in Virgo too, and efficiency. That's one of my Virgo words, is efficiency. And
Mm.
so the people there might be to make it a more efficient experience that is all about them. And I sometimes Virgo, depending on what the chart looks like, Virgo gets depended on to pick the things. Now, that can happen because maybe the chart has got a real perfectionist bent to it and would rather the Virgo energy do the choosing so that
Sure.
they're happy with the choice, right? That can happen. Or the Virgo itself, we know about the Virgo perfectionism, and then the choice can't be made because I can't make the perfect choice. So
Right.
sometimes if you have a Venus in Virgo who falls into that category, planning their day for them and knowing what, the things that they like might be the thing that is
I
the
love that.
most relieving to them, because
Yeah.
now they're just getting to, you know what? They're free. If it didn't go the way they planned, it doesn't matter. They didn't
I
plan it.
like
They just
it.
get to go and enjoy it. You're taking that responsibility off of them.
That's smart.
Yeah, I feel like that Venus in Virgo, that might be something. I also feel like, and again, this is gonna be tricky, if that perfectionist bent is strong, they might not want you to buy anything for them
Right.
because they know what they want.
Right.
Right? No thanks. Maybe a gift certificate is the gift for Venus and Virgo, so they get
Right.
to pick the thing
Oh,
themselves.
I
Yeah?
like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
And quality time is gonna depend on what they need at that moment,
I like that.
and likely not too long.
So we were talking about a short period
Efficient.
of time, but there could be body doubling. There's
Mhm.
something that takes apart all of that. The tension that can come with the ability to be critical is defeated by simple being together. So
Mhm.
there's something to that, right? That could take a
Mhm.
long time,
Right.
but is
Yeah,
in alignment with the information that's coming through.
right. And I would say Venus and Virgo is really gonna depend on the rest of the chart if physical
I
touch
agree.
is something that they're interested at all, in terms of, especially as the acts of service that they would receive.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really an important, yeah. And quality time, I mean, sometimes Virgo can isolate to do the things that they wanna do their way.
Mhm.
That sometimes quality time is just spending time without putting any of your opinions on you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
I
no
like that.
criticism, no feedback, we just get to
I
hang
like
out,
that. Yeah,
and maybe
I like
talk
that.
about whatever the Venus and Virgo wants to talk about. No
Yeah,
judgment, no criticism.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a big thing for Venus and Virgo. Well, Venus and Libra. This is like Venus and Taurus. It's Venus in its own sign, and so it's going to want to do something Venusian, whatever that looks like for them, and likely social. Venus and
Yes.
Libra, right? It's a bit like
Most
the Venus in
popular.
Gemini.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But it's likely like how many people we can include in the day,
yeah.
and so not like Venus and Gemini where it's like one person at breakfast, like seeing each of their people one on one. Libra is like going to want a party for brunch and have a party for lunch and a party for
And
dinner.
they've sent out, like, invites for the next
Mhm.
event, and they've got, like, letters. They drop off a bag at the post office,
Yes.
It's a rolling party.
Yes. Unless the sun is in Virgo, and then it's going to be a bit different. But definitely some kind of, maybe if the sun is in Virgo and the Venus is in Libra, just the group
It
of very
could.
special people.
Right.
It would, the group would get a bit more selective with the sun in Virgo, I would think. And for acts of service, we'll just chauffeur them to all of the things that they want to do. Get
To
them
cheer
there.
them on, to
Yeah,
not say that's too much.
absolutely. Yeah,
Like, keep
absolutely.
going.
Yeah. Yeah. And so gifts with Venus and Libra. Whenever I think about Libra, I always think sparkly. Libra, even from a remediation standpoint, Andrea she puts sparkle on
Oh,
Libra.
that's right.
There is
That's so funny.
something, and I know I have, I've got 3 major planets sitting together in Libra,
Mhm.
and I do love sparkle. If a Venus in Libra has a lot of different friends,
Mhm.
all of them getting together and making a concerted effort to get along,
Oh,
that's that getting along piece is
wow.
huge for Libra. If you are a friend of a Venus in Libra who doesn't
Yeah.
like the other friends of the Venus in Libra,
Uh-oh.
one of the best gifts you can give them is holding that back and doing something special for them where you all get along beautifully. That's
Yeah.
the totally quintessential Venus gift or Venus and Libra gift. And again, physical touch for an air sign.
Go
It's gonna depend.
dancing. Go
Yeah,
somewhere where you can be seen, it doesn't have
yeah,
to be an exhibitionist. Just go somewhere where I mean, this is arm candy city, right?
yeah.
Someone
Ballroom
who
dancing.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And it's also showy and it's
yeah.
humorous and something that has that feel. Scorpio, okay, you know this one.
So the Venus and Scorpio, really capable of a lot of intimacy, but just like we talked about with the zodiac mafia, if you're going to use all that knowledge that you get from your intuition to hurt, it's a dead end. So there could be this, you know, stories of betrayal, and there could be a history, right? And then the important part is not to have that history define them, right? They're transmuting, they're becoming. So accepting them for who they are is a big deal. And then all that that ability to see so deeply into someone becomes quite supportive and fascinating. And then I do think that because it's such a watery sign, and I will say this for Pisces too, encourage them to do their own stuff, because there may be an inclination, because they could be adept at seeing what other people want, that they are allowed to focus on what they want and encouraged to focus on what they want.
Well, well, and so when I talked about devotion with the Venus and Leo, that's
Yeah.
actually a word for the fixed Venuses. It's not
Yes.
just for, it's actually like a solid fixed
It's
sign.
serious.
Yeah. And so anything that expresses that level of devotion to a
Yeah.
Venus in Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or even Aquarius
Even
is
Aquarius.
going to be received, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, for sure. It's the
Yeah.
opportunity where they just get to be.
I love that.
And the act of service would be then to either be there with them if that's what they want or not
Right?
with them. If you can create that in some way for a Venus and Scorpio,
Yeah.
with any one of these,
Yes.
you're tapping into what they're looking for.
Absolutely. That's
Cool.
beautiful.
Venus and Sagittarius. So when I think about Sagittarius, especially when I'm writing like sun sign stuff,
Yeah.
general articles
Yeah.
and things around Sag, there's something that you have to be really careful of when you're writing for a lot of people is that not everybody has resources, right? And I had to learn that really early on writing the horoscopes for Llewellyn. When you write from your privilege, you can get yourself. And so what I started, because when I think about Sag, right away, it's out, it's travel, it's big, it's going on these massive adventures. And I realized, and then meeting people with strong Sag energy who don't have that inclination at all,
Right.
right? But what they do have is that craving to experience cultures.
Yes.
And you don't need to leave your home to do that. You don't
Right.
need to leave your space at all. And
Right.
so I always think like when you're working with somebody, not working with, when you're adoring a
Mm,
Venus Terrius, bringing in something from that has a spiritual energy to it, something that is exploring something that is outside of ourselves.
mhm.
Period. Whether that's cultural, spiritual, whatever, doesn't
Right,
matter.
right.
Bringing that experience to something bigger for a
Yeah,
Venus in Sagittarius is important. Would you
I
say?
think
Would you?
so.
Yeah.
And I would say idealism has a fair amount to do with the
Okay.
Venus in Sag.
My moon will help you. Boof.
Oh my gosh, so ridiculous. Not my place at all. But it strikes me as this very weird, like, where'd you get that from? What do you mean? Like, first of all, that whole sentence is just so much garbage, right? Like, ha, blah, 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 blah. Define your terms, figure it out, right? And that, the capacity to endure that, a Venus in Sag, desiring, finding the truth, living the truth, desiring, finding the truth, letting go of that truth, moving on, and all of the, I don't know, hollering down from the mountains or something. This is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, that's the tolerance you want from a partner if you've got the Venus in Sag.
Right. Right. Wow. Yeah, that goes a lot beyond my taking you for Indian food.
You know what? That would work, though. That would work.
It's funny because I remember writing it was remediation stuff for Venus
Yeah,
and Sagittarius actually, right?
yeah,
And thinking from the perspective of not having any money to spend on it,
yeah.
Um, and so, for a Venus and Sagittarius, creating an experience,
Yes.
creating something that is um that takes you outside of your expectations
Yeah,
of what your life is right now.
exactly.
And words of affirmation could be praising you for
Yeah.
speaking your truth,
Yeah,
praising
for the
you
for
for
the
being
journey, for
honest,
that cool
praising
journey.
you,
Yeah.
yes, for your bravery of standing up on that soapbox when you
Right.
choose to, right? Those can be the words of
Exactly.
affirmation for a Venus and
Yeah,
Sagittarius, right?
yeah. Or you did it yourself.
Well, I'm praising you for your independence,
Yes.
those kinds of
Yeah,
things. So
yeah.
let's try that bent. And quality time is going to depend on what adventure you choose.
Right, and again, as you get older, that adventure could be whatever it needs to be. I don't know how to articulate this. Like, we've got books beside our bed that we read to each other. And when we're cuddled up in bed reading to each other, it feels like we're on the top of some really exclusive resort and we've already had all the champagne we can drink and our tummies are satisfied,
Love it.
right?
Venus and Sagittarius is a dream of going someplace.
Yes.
That's the postcard
I
with
like
them
it.
in it, right?
Yes.
Just that little
That's it.
personalization of it, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And not an expensive gift, but I love the intention of something like that as
Yeah.
well, right? Like that just adds a whole other layer of I'm helping with my intention, I'm helping you reach your dream,
Exactly.
And physical touch, well, that's going to be
Robust and what do they call it? Healthy
consent.
and a
For,
fun,
yes.
healthy.
Yeah.
And it could be unattached to that kind of monogamy stuff that I was talking about. Lots of exploring and trying stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Or not at all. Are there
Or
times
not
that
at
it's
all.
not at all? I
Not at
think
all.
some Venus and Sagittarius might sometimes be it's not
We
at all.
all show up how we show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jupiter's sign is gonna tell us as well. Venus and Capricorn. I'm gonna say this because when my client said it to me, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna put that in my book,"
Mhm.
she said, "You can tell everybody that if you want." So I'm gonna take that opportunity because
I
I have
love
to share this. She had said Venus and Capricorn, people respecting her time was a
yes.
love language. And I
Mhm.
thought that was, Capricorn rules time, or
Yeah.
Saturn rules time, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So
Yeah.
that connection, again, one of those moments where people speak their chart, and I just am always so tickled by that. But it
Mhm.
also wasn't something I had like formed a solid thought around. And so when she verbalized it like that, I was like, that is fantastic. So, a Venus and Capricorn, whatever they need to get done, right? Respecting their time,
Yes.
giving them the gift of time,
Yeah.
right? Whatever,
Yeah.
whether it's, I mean, in all of these, the acts of service, it might just be, like you said, body doubling, which
Yeah,
allows them the time to do what they need to get done.
right. And
Right.
there's enough, I mean, the Venus in Capricorn wants to see the fruits of their labor, right? So they want it to come out to something, right? And so other people who want things to come out to something will be what they're attracted to, because there will be a little bit of that like with like. And so if there isn't that, the Venus in Capricorn will see when you're not living up to your own expectations. And that's important to know. They want you to live up to your expectations. So that's a different, because they're taking responsibility, right? They're in relationship. You might get a lot of needs met that you never would have thought somebody else could meet.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but for some reason, I do associate autonomy with Capricorn.
Well, capability and autonomy, I think, are
Yeah.
the amount of time it takes to sustain capability is their gift.
Right. And when I say associate, it's a word that's floating into my head that I can't get rid of right now while I'm thinking
Yeah,
about Capricorn.
yeah. No,
For the tape. Sometimes the associations are not coming out of a book.
right,
So just for people to know,
right,
sometimes
exactly.
quality time for Venus and Capricorn is gonna be the thing that you pick out of this list.
Treating time seriously, not leaving everything for the last minute, not being late, like all of the things that are typical for what we hear is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like a Venus and Capricorn above, if you've already respected their time, organizing things so that they can enjoy their day. I kind of like I feel like a Venus and Capricorn, that there's a bit of that Virgo energy in that I want to do it my way, right?
Us,
Yeah. And so if the ideal would be you've done everything that they would be comfortable with you doing to
I
free
love
up their
that.
time to enjoy their day.
I
Because
love,
overstepping into something they don't want you to go near would be the not great way to manage that. But yeah, just being able to, without any guilt, without any putting anything on them that, oh, look what I did for you. Because again, remember, we're talking about gift giving and it's not about the giver,
yeah,
it's the receiver, right?
yeah.
And so clearing up time so that they have time to enjoy themselves, I think is a really great gift for
I like
Capricorn.
that.
But
Yeah.
is also is the practicality of a gift card,
Yes,
also is the practicality of something they need and they haven't had
yes,
time to get for
yes,
themselves, right?
yes.
Same with, physical touch. Well, there's a sensuality to Capricorn that doesn't get spoken about enough. But if they don't have the time to express that in the way that they would like or experience it in the way they would like, their likely touch might not be the thing that they're into at that moment.
Yeah, or it might be different, right? Like, I laugh because I hang out with so many Scorpios, and yet I think Capricorns are kinky. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
so Venus and Capricorn could create a sexual association with something that's not
And then so Venus in Aquarius, I love so Venus in Aquarius. When we talk about an asexual Venus,
right.
now I'm not saying Venus in Aquarius is asexual, not saying it at all, but that collective energy, that utopian energy, that's not
It's
really
not
connected to anything on Earth, that's grounded,
not about personal.
right?
Yeah.
And Aquarius can be extremely intellectual. So Venus in Aquarius values friendship in
Mhm.
all of their connections and their relationships,
Your
and it
big
has to be.
families, your sororities, your fraternities.
Yeah, yeah, but even in their romantic relationships, the foundation of it needs to be in friendship or in an ideological sharing of some form, some kind of a cause that they agree in, or there needs to be some kind of an intellectual
Attraction?
yeah, but when you have things getting like Sinistry, an intellectual synastry between people, I think is important. Yeah, so friendship, so connecting with a group of people, you know, a
Like,
good friend of mine who's very Aquarian,
mhm.
for a special birthday, really wanted to gather all of her favorite people
Yes.
and celebrate, you know,
Yes.
so that again with the air signs, right?
Yeah, bringing them in, making it easier to connect with more people.
I think that a Venus and Aquarius might love something that stimulates them intellectually, or even
Yes.
there's a big humor in
Yes.
Aquarius, right? So it could even be something just that makes them laugh, you know,
Yeah.
allows them to be light and get out of their intellectual head, but
Yeah.
still, you know, not trying to stop them from thinking because
Right?
they don't like when you ask them to get out of their head. Um, so yeah, but something that brings joy, but still is got some kind of intellectual connection to it.
I like that.
Yes, and I would say physical touch with a Venus in Aquarius is gonna depend on the person
It
and
may
where they're
not
at.
be a priority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Any other things about because Venus in Aquarius again, authenticity is another word that we forget to say about Aquarius.
Yeah, I mean, I keep seeing this vision of sort of inviting someone, they've got their group and you've got your group, and now we're cross-populating and it's so exciting and so much fun. And it's another one that would want to go out a lot and kind of, be seen a little bit.
Well,
And
it's the opposite of Leo, so
yeah,
it likes to be special as well,
yes.
like you're saying.
But in that specialness, they're lifting up others kind of thing.
Yes. I think Aquarius too would like to have a few, not as many as the Libras and the Geminis in
Hmm.
terms of a day of birthday, but a few things, a few
Right.
options, a bit of
Yeah.
variety, you know? I feel that's a very Aquarian kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, anything else about Venus and Aquarius before we move on?
Hmm. I think they can probably be perceived as really flirty in that way that guys who go to restaurants think every waitress is flirting with them. It's
Hmm,
not at all meant necessarily to be flirty,
right.
but they're so skilled at it that it may seem flirty.
Well, and I think that, like, Aquarius energy is can be so attractive in how it
Yes,
can be, like,
I agree.
unusual or other earthly or just unique, right? Like, just
Yeah.
sort of like, "Ooh, where are you from?"
Yeah.
And if they are a skilled orator, you
Yes.
know, and have some wit and some whatever,
Yeah.
people can think they're flirting and they're not even at all. Like,
Right.
they're just people are just drawn to the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
if they acknowledge you within that
Yeah.
energy, well, all of a sudden people are like, "You're flirting." "No, I
I
was
kind of
just."
love it because if you think about the Leo stuff, right, as being just exuding, from the heart kind of thing,
Yeah,
right? And what kind of yum that could be for the world, right? If the right situation is set up. And we didn't say that they seem flirty because can anyone reach them?
yeah,
No. No.
right.
No, thank you. But they can reach the Aquarius.
Ah, okay.
It's interesting, right?
That
Like
is interesting.
the same kind of yummy, I'm showing you my authenticity
Yeah,
vibe,
yeah, yeah,
but without the difference is they're more impersonal than exclusive.
right. One of the things that people don't say enough about Aquarius is that one of its skills is the ability to make you feel special in the moment and then forget about you as soon as they walk away.
Yes.
And that can be very difficult for somebody who needs to think that you're thinking about them 24/7. But it's a gift
Yeah.
when for that, like, I know so
Mhm.
many fields and the gift to them is they don't carry all that stuff with them.
And in that way, Venus and Aquarius is great for acts of service. I would put them anywhere in any organization.
Yeah. What would an active service be for a Venus in
It
Aquarius?
would be to connect any two people,
Oh, there you go. There
right?
you
And then
go.
that piece of making someone feel special, that's a hot commodity in the volunteer world.
Yeah,
That's not an everyday thing. So that's an extra level of service that you can bring.
right.
Uh, yeah.
And the other thing too, and this will be true for Pisces, but
Mhm.
depending on the rest of the chart with an Aquarian, the gift might be to gift to an organization It might be
Yes.
a gift to a cause. It might be,
Yeah.
it might not actually have anything to do with them personally,
Right.
depending
Right.
on the chart, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes the thinking is well, they're gonna appreciate any kind of outside the
Right.
box thinking, right?
Right.
Whether it hits the mark or not. If it's
Right.
unusual and that was what you were going for, you're
Yeah.
gonna just appreciate the intent behind that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, friendship is so important to them that I think you're right. The active service of helping bring their people together, or even not even their people, people that you think they would find really interesting.
Right.
They would. And then we have Venus and Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, and
Right.
it's such an interesting placement because that's the most idealistic Venus by far. And if we add the layer of whether it's a morning star or an evening star, if it's an evening star, that there's a longing in that Venus that can't actually really be fulfilled.
Right.
But at the
Which is
same
the
time,
point.
the more sentimental you can be with a
Oh,
Venus in Pisces,
yeah.
their hearts get really touched if you figure out what the thing is that they're sentimental about and give them that.
Mhm.
That there's yeah, I have somebody in my family has this placement, and there's a real sentimentality,
I love that.
and an
I love that.
appreciation for things that are and money's not really the object. It's
Right.
usually just the
Right.
thoughtfulness.
The
Yeah.
connection, like a trans between 2 people, like that's the miracle or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, if it can happen.
Well, and I wonder too if because Pisces energies often feels like it can't be seen. And
Right?
so if there's something that helps them feel like they've been seen,
I like
there
that.
yeah, I feel like there's something about that that's
Yeah.
really important to them and special to them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's hard to do. Like, we can talk about it all we want, but the thing because Pisces energy is hard
Right.
to grab, and
Right.
it changes. So just like that Cancer energy,
Yeah.
it might shift and
Ooh.
change, right?
Ooh, interesting, interesting. Well,
Mhm.
when I think of sort of the tropes around Venus and Pisces, I think of, the lover of wounded birds, the lover of wounded souls, and the one who wants to fix. And then they give you the shirt off their back. And there's such a softness and an art. And so if you share that there's a process that their Venus may need to go through, where they're shaking off their obligation to heal the wounded birds or the wounded souls, that it's a natural thing to want to do, but it's really about seating yourself inside of yourself because there's something so beautiful about that Pisces, right? Figure out what process will help you land on the ground and be here on the earth. That seems like a helpful thing.
For sure. The other thing too is that Pisces energy can be this very ethereal, sort of spiritual, beautiful, generous energy. It can also be quite sacrificing and
Yeah.
a bit on that martyry side of the spectrum.
Mhm.
So maybe what it is, it's an act of service or quality time that requires a sacrifice. That
Oh,
maybe I
wow.
say Venus and Pisces really
Interesting.
appreciates, right?
I like that.
Or something that allows them to make a sacrifice. Now, you don't necessarily wanna feed into that energy
Right.
with Pisces, but there could be some healthy expressions of that, and
You don't want them stuck in toxicity.
the sacrifices that they give up their birthday being about them, and
Right.
you go and volunteer and do something beautiful
Right.
somewhere,
Interesting.
it could be helping them to do something.
Exactly. Something happens and it derails the event, but then what happens is more meaningful, and now you've got this deeper connection because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something even more mundane than that, where, like, I think about I don't know, do you guys have Ronald McDonald House where you are?
Oh, yeah.
So here you can go there and you have to do it plan it ahead of time and whatever. In this case, it would be go cook a meal at McDonald's house, and
Yeah.
your birthday gets to be celebrated in this way where you gave it to the it
Yeah.
can be something like that that a Venus and Pisces would really appreciate if
Mhm.
that's the way their energy runs. The Venus in Pisces is gonna have it's not gonna be the same every year either.
No.
It's gonna
No.
change, it's gonna shift, it's
Yeah.
gonna depend on, what Jupiter is doing in the
Right.
chart,
Right.
you know, it's going to change and shift a little bit more. So it's not going to be consistent time to time, as with any of the mutable signs
Right, right, right.
or the Cancer, because
Right.
because of the moon.
Right.
It
I mean,
change.
it's so funny because you want, like, Venus in Pisces can see the unattainable. For them to be okay with that as they go through life is the mission.
The family member, if I could set up a private concert with her
Yes.
favorite musician, there would never have to be a gift again in the rest of
Wow.
time. You know what I
Wow.
mean? So it's like, and I went there because Pisces, to me, that Jupiter, that Neptune
I
connection
love
connected with music, right?
Yeah.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we
Oh,
made it through all 12 sounds. Well,
yeah.
thanks to whoever joined us. Actually, in the comments, I'd love to hear what your Venus sign is and what your perfect gift is. I love this stuff. This is like, I love learning and expanding these ideas. So great. All right. Well, thank you, Lillian. This was
Thank
beautiful.
you, Tracy. See you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.